Hello and welcome back to Euro Football Daily, where today we have a simple one for you. 10 footballers we all love to hate. Which players are the most frustrating, annoying or downright dirty in the game? Let's find out. 10. Sergio Ramos. Thanks to SamGGO1 on Twitter for suggesting Sergio Ramos, a footballer who divides opinion like no other. For some, he is an egotistical, malicious player with a discipline problem, but for others, he is the standout centre-back of the century, the leader of a side that has won 4 out of the last 6 Champions Leagues. The reality is that in this age of instant reaction, memes and trolling, his ill discipline clouds people's opinions of his play. 26 career red cards, 16 more than Roy Keane, coupled with an intentional booking against Ajax in the last 16 in 2018-19, there is no debate, his stupidity has often cost his side. But you don't make 170 appearances for Spain, topped only by Buffon in Europe, without being a truly exceptional player. Score of 91 goals from centre-back, including 19 since the start of 18-19, the same as Thomas Müller, Ramos has redefined his position. An 8-time UEFA Team of the Year member, when the now 34-year-old Ramos is available, he's invariably one of the best players on the pitch. Before we move on to our next section, just a quick reminder to subscribe to Euro Football Daily and hit that notification bell to never miss a video. 9. Shkodran Mustafi. Unlike Sergio Ramos, the main criticism levelled at Mustafi is a lack of ability. The 27-year-old, who made 3 appearances en route to Germany's 4th World Cup triumph, was initially irregular at the Emirates following his £35 million transfer from Valencia, making at least 37 appearances in each of the last 3 full seasons. This campaign has been slightly different, however. Despite suffering no injuries, Mustafi played just 3 Premier League games prior to New Year, as Emery, Lingard and Arteta all favoured Socrates and David Luiz. But since being recalled to the first team for his side's 1-1 draw with Sheffield United, the 6-foot centre-back has played every minute of 8 of their 10 matches, only missing out against Portsmouth and West Ham. With only Maitland-Niles topping his 3.1 tackles and interceptions per 90 out of all Arsenal defenders, and no one winning more than his 5.4 aerial duels with a 74% completion rate, the same as Van Dijk, it's clear Mustafi still has a purpose. But with an 83% pass accuracy, 15th in the Gunners squad, and with Saliba and hopefully an experienced centre-half arriving this summer, Arteta should think about moving on the much maligned Mustafi before his contract runs out in 2021. 8. Scott Brown. We thought about including notorious football bad boy El Hadji Diouf at number 8, until Gabriel Keelboy on Twitter came up with a much more original suggestion of Scott Brown. Despite making 135 appearances over 5 seasons for his boyhood club Hibernian, Chris Hamill's idol Scott Brown will always be permanently entwined with Glasgow Celtic. And it's not difficult to see why. Signed by Gordon Strachan for £4.4 million in August 2007, then the biggest fee between 2 Scottish clubs, Brown immediately set about making himself indispensable to the club. His early years may have consisted of a series of niggling injuries and Rangers' dominance, with Celtic winning just 1 title in his first 4 years at the club, but as Rangers fell away, the Hoops have dominated, with Brown a permanent feature of a side that has won 16 trophies in the last 8 completed seasons, including an unprecedented treble-treble under Brendan Rodgers and Neil Lennon. Celtic also enjoyed some European success in his time too, beating AC Milan, Benfica and most famously of all Barcelona in the 2012-13 Champions League. Brown's dogged determination, love of a physical battle and never back down attitude has wound fans up for years. But with the 55 capped international turning 35 in June, perhaps it's time to give him the credit he deserves. 7. Jesse Lingard. Thanks to 30boy on Twitter for pointing out that people like nothing more than to criticise Jesse Lingard. Look, there is no disputing that since the 2018 World Cup, in which the 27-year-old contributed 2 goals in 6 appearances, Lingard has regressed, with just 5 goals and 3 assists in 60 League and Champions League games since. And the story in 1920 isn't much brighter, with 4 goal contributions in 34 games, the same amount as Harry Maguire. His best season to date was without doubt 2017-18, when the academy graduate scored 8 goals and assisted 5 in 33 league games under Mourinho as United finished 2nd, their best placing in the post-Fergie era. Since then, his expected goals and assists per 90 have almost halved to 0.3, less than the much criticised Andreas Pereira. If Man United want to invest in a right winger and central midfielder this summer, the £100,000 per week player could be moved on. But please, we implore you to cut Lingard some slack on social media. With his mother and grandfather seriously ill, the 27-year-old is having to look after his 2 young siblings alongside his own family. So please show the 24-capped international the respect he deserves. 6. Zlatan Ibrahimovic. Probably the least surprising inclusion on this list, unless he's playing for your side, Zlatan Ibrahimovic makes it very difficult for you to like him. Now 38 and having played the last 2 campaigns in the MLS with LA Galaxy, the 116-capped Swede has arguably never been so irrelevant. Despite that, his record is incredible. 10 consecutive years of scoring at least 20 goals for 5 clubs in 4 different countries, and with 33 trophies in his collection, Zlatan is a freak of nature. Between 2003 and 2016, there was just 1 year, 2011-12 at AC Milan, in which he didn't win a league title, a quite remarkable record. His best campaign was without doubt 2015-16, when he scored a ridiculous 50 goals in 51 games, whilst operating at 1.32 expected goals and assists per 90, just 0.02 off Lewandowski this term. Having contributed 4 goals in 8 Serie A appearances for AC Milan since joining them in December 2019, whilst producing 0.87 expected goals and assists per 90, more than Lautaro and Lukaku at Inter, Zlatan is clearly still a great player. We just wish he'd shut up about it. 5. Cristiano Ronaldo. There is a long-running joke that everyone at Football Daily hates Cristiano Ronaldo. Something Luca Pavlovi7 on Twitter no doubt tried to tap into when he recommended CR7 for this video. The truth is that we don't. If Messi didn't exist, Cristiano Ronaldo would have a very good case for being the greatest player in history. Currently playing his 18th season, the man from Madeira has moulded himself from tricky, erratic winger to an absolute goal machine, scoring at least 20 goals in each of the last 14 seasons. Despite winning the first of his 5 Ballon d'Ors whilst at Man United in 2008, after scoring 42 goals in 49 games on the way to winning a league and the Champions League double, the best football of his career came in Madrid. The numbers are quite frankly ridiculous. 450 goals in 438 games, which included 6 consecutive seasons of at least 30 league goals. His average of 1.03 goals per game across his spell, unsurprisingly, left him as the club's all-time top scorer. Now 35 and playing for an average Juventus side, the 5-time Champions League winner, now rocking a man bun, has shown he is still capable of greatness, equaling the league record of scoring in 11 consecutive games. People love to hate him, but you can't doubt his greatness. 4. Luis Suarez. Ranked by 442 as the 16th most hated person in football in 2017, Luis Suarez has never been far from controversy. Despite shining for 4 years in the Netherlands with Groningen and then Ajax, the majority of the world's first introduction to Suarez was at the 2010 World Cup. The forward was immense, netting 3 and assisting twice in 6 appearances. But everyone only remembers him for that infamous handball and the line in their quarter-final win over Ghana. 6 months later, he rocked up in England, signing for Liverpool for a bargain price of £23 million. What followed was extraordinary. One of the most talented players the Premier League has ever seen, he contributed 92 goals in 110 Premier League appearances, including a record equaling 31 Premier League goals in 2013-14. But controversy was never far behind. 3 biting incidents, including one at a World Cup, and an 8-match ban for racially abusing Patrice Evra, Suarez was unable to control his emotions. Now 33 and frequently injured, Suarez has mellowed, but 191 goals in 270 games for Barcelona, alongside a career average of 0.65 goals per game, show the 113-capped Uruguayan to be what he is, one of the most controversial but supremely talented footballers of his generation. 3. Diego Costa. It should come as no surprise that a player who entitled his autobiography The Art of War would see the game as a conflict won through brute force and by winding up the opposition. At his peak, there wasn't a more aggressive player at the elite level than Diego Costa. Unfortunately for the Brazilian-cum-Spaniard and his fans, his moment at the top lasted all too briefly. After initially struggling when arriving at Atletico Madrid ahead of 2010-11, a loan spell at Rayo Vallecano in the following campaign, which he scored 10 goals in 16 La Liga games, started a remarkable run. Over the next 5 full seasons, Costa would score 115 goals in 216 games, win 3 league titles, 2 domestic cups, a Europa League, and reach a Champions League final. After being frozen out by Conte, he rejoined his former club for £59 million, a move even his most ardent fans would call a disaster. 50 games missed with injury since the start of 17-18 have made him a pale imitation of his former self, firing off just 1.8 shots per 90 this campaign, a figure topped by 58 players in Spain. Having scored just 5 Champions League goals in his last 30 appearances, Costa is a spent force, and you won't find many people crying over it. 2. Dele Alli. In a similar vein to Jesse Lingard, elements of the English press and many on Twitter like nothing more than bashing Dele Alli. Perhaps it's his occasional acts of petulance, the accusations of play acting and diving, but more likely it's his exceptional talent. People forget that Dele Alli is still just 23, just 2 years older than Mason Mount. but because of the way he burst onto the scene, with 44 goal contributions in his first 50 Premier League games, people forget that he is still maturing as a player and a person. Has there been a dip in his performances? Most certainly, but Spurs have also declined, going from a side who accumulated 173 points between 2016-17 and 17-18 to one that are on track for 125 points over the subsequent two. Factor in 24 games missed with injury since the start of 18-19, and is it any wonder that his shots per 90 have dropped from 2.8 in 16-17 to 2, and his key passes from 1.5 to 1. Having contributed 12 goals in 22 league games whilst operating at 0.58 expected goals and assists per 90, only topped by Son in the Lily-White squad, and with Kane rumoured to be unhappy and major defensive surgery needed this summer, Daniel Levy should do everything in his power to keep Ali. 1. Emery. There is no love in this next inclusion. Everyone should quite simply hate Turkish international Emre Belözoğlu, who is still going despite turning 39 last September. After emerging at Galatasaray in 1996, Emery went on to play for the likes of Inter Milan, Newcastle and briefly Atletico Madrid. A bit part player at Inter Milan during a mediocre patch in their history, between 2001 and 2005, he helped the Nerazzurri win a Coppa Italia, their first trophy since 1998, before departing for Newcastle. A combustible player with a short fuse, Emre was never far from controversy. In December 2006, he was accused, and later found not guilty, of using racist insults towards Yobo, Howard and Lescott of Everton. And in February 2007, El Hadji Diouf accused him of the same thing, and he followed that up in March of that year against Watford's Bangura. 5 years later, he was caught on camera making racist comments towards Didier Zokora of Trabzonspor whilst playing for Fenerbahce, and a 2.5-month prison sentence followed. A completely contemptible human being, Emre is rightly hated across the football world. And that's all we have time for today, but who did we miss out? Let us know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, do give it a like and subscribe to the channel for more great content. And finally, please do remain indoors, wash those hands and stay safe. Bye for now.